All right, some waiver wire additions. Week 2. If you didn't get Tariq Cohen week 1, pick him up. Kerwin Williams, if he's still there, you can decide between him or Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson definitely had a better week 2 than Kerwin Williams did, but that doesn't, to me, that doesn't mean that Bruce Arians isn't gonna. That he's just gonna stop using Kerwin. I think Kerwin could still have a chance to break out. Javaris Allen. For the Ravens. He's a guy that, if you got to fill a spot, my top guy, I think this guy is chosen in most leagues, but Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had a huge week. I think he had more carries than DeMarco Murray. It seems as if it's almost like they're moving on to Henry. It's like they're slowly moving to Henry. Don't quote me on that. But and Derrick Henry's probably chosen in most leagues on somebody's bench. So my guy that I would take this week would probably be Chris Carson. I like Chris Carson a lot this week. Talked about him a little bit already. Had 90 or so yards. They had like 18 carries. What you want is a guy that's getting a majority of the carries. And, we've kind of been sitting and waiting and seeing who's going to be the guy for Seattle. And he definitely seems like he was the guy. Chris Thompson's the guy, you can't really trust with the fact that he's behind Rob Kelly and also Samaje Perine. But, Rob Kelly got hurt. We don't know what the extent of his injury is, or I don't. And Chris Thompson definitely had a huge game. But Perine, I think, will get more of the load of the runs. But, I don't know if you can bank on Chris Thompson getting a receiving touchdown each week, but he's done it 2 weeks in a row. Dion Lewis is another guy. Obviously, he's in a backfield with a lot of people. Duke Johnson has been really big out of the backfield. So has Shane Vereen. These are guys, though, that aren't starters. And then Jalen Richard, I think he played 3 plays or so last week, and he had 90 yards and a TD. So he's a guy that's really good, too. If the Raiders continue to blow teams out, he's a guy that'll probably come in games late for Marshawn. I don't see them, pushing Marshawn late in games when they already have wins. So tight ends, Austin Hooper didn't have as good of a week as he did week 1. Jesse James didn't either. Zach Miller couldn't get going. But these are all guys that I wouldn't be afraid to add. We had a lot of injuries as far as tight ends this weekend. I think Jimmy Graham's fine, but Jimmy Graham did get rolled up on. Gronk hurt his groin. I'm sure Gronk will be out for a couple weeks, but that's Dwayne Allen will be a good pickup that you can add. Luke Wilson if Graham's out. Benjamin Watson caught a good amount of passes, but he competes a lot of time with I think his name's Doyle. And also Max Williams, so that's tough. Hunter Henry caught a good amount of passes this last week, but at the same time he didn't catch the TD, so he's hard. Evan Ingram, I think Evan Ingram could be Peyton's new favorite target. He's always like throwing the tight ends, but he hadn't had one in a couple of years. He was throwing a Will Tye the last couple of years. He was a guy that you could have picked up, and he could have got you some points. David Nwoku had a TD this last weekend, the rookie from Miami playing for Cleveland. Gerald Everett had a couple good catches too, and then Greg Olsen went down. He'll be out for a couple weeks. If you need a replacement for him, Ed Dixon is a good replacement. And then Cameron Bray, it's just tough with Cameron Bray because he shares time with O.J. Howard, but I like him. And then Charles Clay, I'm sure Charles Clay is still Tyrod Taylor's probably favorite receiver. So that's another guy that I like. Defensive-wise, my team that I'm real high on this week is the Lions. They have scored a total of 33 points in one of my leagues that I was looking at. They scored 16 week 1, 17 week 2, so they've been really consistent. And it's not that they've played. They get a lot of sacks. Like I said, they get a lot of sacks. And then something that they haven't done in the past is special teams, but they got a good special teams returner. He returned one last night. This Lions team is looking better than it has in the past. Bills defense, like I said earlier, gave up 12 points. Week 1 gave up 9 this week. They're a team that could be good. Falcons was eating up Rodgers. This is more like the old Seahawks defense. And this is a team that you could potentially pick up. Chargers. I've been pretty high on the Chargers throughout the year, preseason wise and stuff, and they're still here. Redskins have had a good amount of sacks this year. I think they've had a pick in both games and a fumble in both. And Bucks have only played one game, and yes, they did play the Bears, but they did play the Bears pretty well. Falcons gave up, I think, almost 20 or 30 points to the Bears, and Bucks almost shut them out. So that was good. Wide receiver wise, a lot of the wide receivers that I've kind of had are still here that I've been talking about getting. Probably Kenny Galladay's gone at this point. Cooper Kupp will probably be gone soon. Jermaine Kearse will probably be gone soon. Allen Hurns is probably gone if he's not already gone. J.J. Nelson's probably gone if he's not gone. Zay Jones will be gone soon. Paul Richardson will be gone soon. He's the guy that I'm talking about. Seth Roberts. Seth Roberts didn't have a good week this last week, but he's a guy that you could fill a spot with. Rashard Higgins had a good week. He's the guy that I added. Brandon Coleman. His production will go down when Snead comes back, but in the meantime, this next week, Brandon Coleman could be a guy. He's really tall around the goal line. It doesn't help for Michael Thomas owners, though, that Brandon Coleman is kind of the new guy around the goal line. For the next couple weeks at least. I don't think Coleman will be. I think he's like a wide receiver 4 after that, though. Terrence Williams, if Terrence Williams is still there. Deontay Thompson, a wide receiver for the Bears. The Bears don't have any wide receivers. Benny Fowler had another all right week for the Broncos. Josh Dotson hadn't caught a pass this year. He's on my list, but he's kind of falling down it. Robert Woods is another guy who was on my list. He's kind of coming down it. Taylor Gabriel hadn't done a whole lot. He's on the list. Can't really think of any guys else on this list that have done anything in the last week. And then kickers, like Suckup. If Suckup's available, he's had a good week, good 2 weeks. Matt Prater kicked a 56-yarder with ease. Well, I can't say with ease because it went off the post, but it looked good from the beginning. Matt Prater's a good kicker. Phil Dawson had a couple of kicks this last weekend. He did miss one, though. I think he's missed one the last 2 weeks. So Blair Walsh kicked a bunch of field goals again. Chris Boswell had a good game. They're kicking extra points more than taking 2-point conversions this year, a little bit better. Giorgio Trevecchi had an all right game, and then some new guys. Cody Parkey, I think scored like 15. I think he kicked 5 field goals. Well, no, don't quote me. Yeah, he might have scored. Yeah, I think he did score 5 field goals for Miami. And then Nick Folk, he had, I think, 13 points for the Bucs this last week. And the Bucs are a team, they moved the ball pretty well, and they probably kicked a bunch of field goals. So I think Nick Folk could be a good field goal kicker.